Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have Mary Beth Gotti, LC. She was the manager of the GE Lighting Institute in Cleveland, and I believe the hosts of this show attended that training not so long ago, maybe 15 or 16 or 17 years ago. She was responsible for overall operation and curriculum development for this training and education center that hosted over 4,000 visitors a year. She chaired the prestigious GE Edison Awards lighting design competition and conducted weekly, Mondays at noon, lighting webinars for customers. She worked in the GE lighting business for almost 40 years. That's correct, 40 years, holding a number of positions in lamp technology and marketing, including lamp development engineer, research physicist, senior product and application specialist, and manager of lighting education. Holding a BS and MS degrees in physics and an MBA from John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio. She is lighting certified by the NCQLP, served on the IES Board of Directors for 5 years, and was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Lighting Bureau in 2018. Currently, independent lighting consultant and serves on the Board of Directors of the National Lighting Bureau, where she manages the NLB Tesla Awards, Lighting Design Program, and the Art and Science of Lighting Product Awards, both earning her the John Bachner Presidential Award in 2020. We've been trying to get Mary Beth for a long time, and Randy's been saying how great it would be to be on the show. So we're going to talk to her in 1 second. But before we do, Greg, we got to get a little gangster here. We got to go down to satco.com. That's satco.com. Light thing, right thing, Greg?
That's right, Satco. For track lighting, they've got everything you need, every shape, color, design, size, and technology flavor out there. Put light where you need it with your track light, Satco Track Lighting.
You know what? We've been selling tons of track lighting since we did that track lighting module in the LS Evolve training program, which is why you got to go to naild.org, man. Track lighting has endless possibilities, and Satco's got all the connectors, man. It's got all the stuff, tons of fixtures, lamp-based fixtures still, which I love. They also have the purpose-built LED fixtures. They got everything, and the dimmers to go with it. So, folks, you got to go to satco.com, proud partners of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. Let's get joined up, signed up. Come on, folks. If you're a lighting distributor, this is your association. Join today. But for right now, Mary Beth, welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast.
Well, thank you so much. A pleasure being here.
Mary Beth, before we, I looked at your background. I know a little bit about it, but you have a degree, a physics degree, and an MBA. Why did you choose lighting?
That is really a great question. Now you have to go back to when I graduated from John Carroll University. So here I'm this greenhorn physicist, just got my master's degree. And so I live in Cleveland, Ohio. So what's the iconic company headquarters that was in Cleveland? And it was General Electric and their lighting division. So I naively sent a note, a letter to Nila Park, basically to whom it may be concerned, and said, hey, I just got my degree. You want to hire me? Talk about naive, but it worked. And, optics was always a lot of fun, and lighting has just been such a great choice. But, so maybe not a very sophisticated entry, but it turned out great for me.
What was your first job at GE?
Well, considering I didn't really have any job experience or not much to speak of, they put me into an operation called piloting. And it was a kind of a mini manufacturing setup. So, is that they tried out new designs, primarily incandescent. They could kind of, troubleshoot it and develop it in a smaller scale manufacturing type of facility. And at the time, the hot project was something called electrostatic coating. So you're going to take light bulbs and make them soft white, and you didn't want to use all that crazy acid stuff that you did for inside frost. So, great project of puffing powder into light bulbs. So it was really a lot of fun.
Nice. And then how long, kind of give us a transition. I know where you ended up with, but what else were you doing with GE before you got
You know,
there?
I was in piloting for about a year. Again, great introduction into how lamps are made and all the diversity of different lighting products and processes. Then I went into incandescent design, so actually designing lamps, par lamps primarily. So that was interesting. So par 38s and par 30s and some of the larger sizes, par 46s, par 56s, and so on. I did that for a couple years. And then I went to Twinsburg, Ohio, and at that point, that was the headquarters for a division of lighting called HI&Q, High Intensity and Quartz. And I was going to be a lamp development engineer for metal halide lamps. So again, great opportunity to learn a very complex, very technical light source, which gave us all the challenges we could ever want. So I did that for about 5 years, and then I went to the research lab. Dr. Gil Reiling, who holds the patent for multi-vapor lamps, if you will, metal halide products, and I had the opportunity to work with him on special projects while I was at the research lab, like lighting for Rockefeller Center, lighting for the Statue of Liberty. So, Gil always had his hands into some very interesting sideline projects, if you were. So again, that was again a great opportunity and a ton of fun. And I still speak with Dr. Reiling till this day. He still lives in this area. And from there, I went to the Lighting Institute. So, becoming a lighting specialist, learning more about lighting applications. And I ended my career at the Lighting Institute. Couldn't have a better job for sure.
Do you, so in a way, you look at the giant that was GE, like it was a beast in lighting at the time. Like lighting was a huge part of its
Mhm.
manufacturing, and
Mhm.
you know how you had the legendary Jack Welch running the company, and it was a dynamic place. Do you look at it with a sense of maybe some nostalgia or sentimentality or longing for another time when there was some greatness around that and there was some forward momentum and innovation that just seemed to slowly decline and then got kind of bulldozed by the LED lighting boom?
Yeah, I never back up. I mean, it was always a lot of fun working for a lighting business that made every conceivable light source that you could need. I know when I was in piloting, we made like 24 deep sea lamps
Hmm.
because somebody needed them for that operation. But it's a different time, and I think that the lighting business of GE always had their pedal to the metal when it came to innovation. But LEDs were an inevitable source. I mean, it just was a business changer, and clearly we were investing in all kind of technologies. Gosh, I can remember things like electrodeless lamps. Remember those when
Sure.
you could like they started with the sulfur lamps. We had a product called multi-locks, and I mean, all through the compact fluorescence and all the linear fluorescent evolution. So I GE they invested in research, and just LEDs just became a bigger, more global force, maybe than ever we could have predicted, or maybe
Hmm.
we predicted but didn't think it would happen that fast.
Well, it was accelerated by a lot of free money swashing around, right? And so the adoption of the technology, this is my opinion, the adoption of the technology outpaced the innovation or the readiness of it. And so there was a lot of mistakes made and business mistakes and also product mistakes. But what I want to ask you is, there's a lot of talk in the industry right now about, not at the industry level, but people who talk about our industry, um, that are saying that light fixtures are not sustainable and that we've increased the lifetime of the light source, but we've significantly shortened the life cycle of the light fixture. And so there's a lot of talk about that. In the past, how did GE, Philips, and Sylvania and these other companies decide to make products that were interchangeable with one another, and that, you manufacturers could, a 4 foot T12 cool white was basically built to the same specs by everybody, and so that you could, manufacturers of fixtures could have it interchangeable lamps and ballasts. And why do you think we abandoned that as an industry?
I don't know if I'm qualified. I could certainly give you my opinion
Sure.
to answer
Well,
answer those questions, but I think a lot of these choices and decisions and processes are driven by the technology. So where were all the initial developments? I mean, it was in making light sources more efficient, more compact, better color, and then you have organizations. I mean, you have ANSI, you've got NEMA. I mean, there's a lot of great lot of synergy involved with trying to standardize so that someone who is building the optics and building the housings and ballasts, could actually use your light sources. So again, there was a lot of business advantages to that type of standardization. LEDs are just a different animal, now because of their compactness and the fact that you can integrate them so efficiently and elegantly into into luminaire designs. It just really, it's a game changer. It trying to make something that looks like a traditional lamp and shoving LEDs in has advantages for many luminaires today, especially more decorative types and existing downlights and two by fours and two by twos. But you can really gain so much more efficiency and elegance, when you start integrating them right into the luminaire. So again, I think it's the technology of the light source that's driving some of these trends.
I think as you were answering that question, something occurred to me. It's in the past there were fixture manufacturers and lamp manufacturers, and they were separate.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
fixture manufacturers needed the lamp manufacturers for their light sources, and the ballast
Hmm.
manufacturers for their
Hmm.
ballasts. And so
Hmm.
these people put together fixtures and bought from these other companies. And now
Hmm.
the manufacturer of the light fixture is incorporating the light source and maybe buying those things, but
Hmm.
they don't require, they're not relying on other companies making light sources to make their light
Hmm.
fixtures. And I
Game
think that,
changer. Yep.
yeah, that was the game changer right there, I think, Mary Beth. And you kind of
Hmm.
you hit on it, but you didn't actually say it. And I think that's fundamentally what's different in 2021 than 2005. That
Sure.
that's a major difference. Um, in your career, do you when you saw these transitions? So 40 years. So you saw the transition to metal halide. You saw a transition from incandescent to CFL. What was different in your mind about the LED transition from those other ones that caused so much creative destruction? What was fundamentally different, do you think?
I think LEDs just combined the benefits of all the other existing light source families into one package.
Hmm.
They got rid of a lot of the negatives. I mean, I spent a chunk of my career on metal halide design, which nobody really cares about anymore. But metal halide could be a great solution. But think of all of the negatives. Enclosed fixtures versus open fixtures, color shift, can't do hot restrike, so makes them not, they're not really compatible with controls. Change in color with dimming if you could dim. So you just think of all of the negatives, and then LEDs come along. Oh wow, let's see. They come on right away. They're small. There's no heat in the beam. There's no UV. I can create color quality. Initial color quality might have been a bit subject to question, but clearly, the opportunity for the best color variability, controllability, low heat, compactness. So it just took all of the benefits of existing technologies and gave you the potential for it in one light source family.
Do you recall when it hit you or what item you saw where you were like, oh, LEDs are, or maybe not all, but good LEDs are here now and they're going to take over? I'm just going to chime in on my end. I remember seeing an exit sign retrofit was like the first thing I ever saw, the little LED screw
Yeah.
in for an incandescent. That was one of the first
Yeah.
ones. But I'm talking like more practical where it's like, oh man, no, now it's going to take over. Do you recall what it was?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, signage was such a match made in heaven. I mean, so you just think about the geometry of it and heat and energy savings and long life. Um, Probably start looking at the first A line retrofits. Looking at
Mhm.
some of the early ones were a bit clunky, but start
Yep.
looking at the shape that look a lot like we're familiar with and say, oh wow. And we all went through the CFL retrofit. I mean, we're all striving for energy efficiency and longer life, but we never really loved CFLs. I mean, the warm up time, the color, they weren't quite what we wanted, right? But now LEDs could give you so much more, so many more benefits that that really, it's like, wow, it comes right on right away. The color's good. Okay, they're expensive. Remember, they started out,
Mhm.
what were they? Probably $15 or more, right? But the prices
Depending,
certainly
yeah.
came down in a hurry. Yeah.
Hmm. Good. Well,
The
let's dive in. Or go ahead, Mike.
You go. I'm going to switch gears, so you dive into whatever you want there, Sucka,
I'm
because I got a good
switching
one.
in gears too here. This is check this out here. Do you see that?
Oh my
For
goodness.
the
What is the
listeners,
date on
there's
that?
my
2006.
there's my
Oh,
certificate from the GE Fundamentals of CNI Lighting, February
that was
22nd to 24th, 2006.
that was our most popular class, and it was so much fun because you had people. Well, some were more experienced than others, depending on what their previous roles were. But we had so much fun with those, and we became friends with many of the attendees. So great, congratulations, all these years later.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to just chime in on. That's when I first started lighting, and I can't tell you how important that was to me to do a class like that, because when I started lighting, the people at my company knew a little bit, but they weren't like real deep into it. And so I had to learn a lot on the fly, and I had to learn from taking catalogs home and reading them, and, internet a little bit, but mostly it was like the print catalogs. I'd actually read them before bed at night, Mike. That's how into it I was, like trying to figure out what everything was so that the next day I could go sell it. But when I went and did that class, that's when it really hit me, what
Mm.
lighting was all about. And I learned the most I learned in those 3 days. And your signature's right on there, actually, Mary Beth. So thank you for that.
There you
And
go.
tell
You
us
you
about,
must have been good.
yeah, I made it. Tell us about the Institute. When did that start, and how did you get involved, and what did you do there exactly?
When did I start with the institute? Or
When did the Institute start, and then when did you start? Yeah.
that's gosh. Now I got to dig back. I used to have all this history right on the tip of my tongue here. But lighting classes were held at the institute. Gosh, for I'm trying to think. Even in the very early days of Nila Park. So going back even to the 1920s, 1930s maybe. But there wouldn't have been the institute building, if you will. So um, gosh, all of my coworkers are going to be. It's like when did the Lighting Institute open? I don't remember the date. Oh my God,
That's
I don't
fine.
remember. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But clearly, for let's say 1930-ish. So long time, long time.
Yeah.
It was of course a lot of renovations um, over the years. Last major one was right before I joined the institute in 1989, where they basically gutted the building and came up with different demonstration types of spaces. Right.
You know what was special? Also went there in 2005, buddy, and
No, you beat me.
I didn't dig
Oh,
up
but you didn't
my.
get a certificate, so
I did. I didn't
He,
bring it
he
to
didn't.
the
He
the
didn't get one.
podcast. I
He
got
didn't
one.
he didn't
graduate.
graduate. He didn't
Maybe not.
graduate.
You know what? I drop out of everything. I'm not good with school, but I'll tell you, there was something special about that place. There was something magical about Nila Park. It was old. It felt like you were going to a university, like an old university,
It did have
and
that feel. Yeah.
yeah, it had a feeling of going somewhere, and then Thomas Edison worked there or something. Like, I can't remember all the magical things but there was a history there. You could feel it in the bones of the place, that this is where people come to learn about lighting. And then you would go to one classroom and they would move you. I thought it was so wonderful that you didn't sit in the same classroom all day. They'd move you to another classroom and then another classroom and then a beautiful lunch. And you would do all this stuff, and it was really an elegant, well planned educational experience, which I found in my career in lighting second to none. And I've been to a lot of
Nice to
lighting
hear.
education. But you know what the most thing was, like the wall around it. I remember it was like old rock or stone or something. There's like the building was made of old material, and when you walked in the front door, it was beautiful lobby, and there was these old light sources on display with weird little patent things below them. I don't. Am I remembering it correctly? Do I have my memory
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was like
Absolutely.
100-year-old light bulb over here, and you just felt like you were coming there to learn about lighting, and it was just magical. So I don't know who designed it or if you did, but it was absolutely a wonderful experience. Um, did the institute, was it also responsible to manage the legacy of GE in the lighting business? Was there something to that as well?
You know, we've always had members of the institute team who loved the history and wanted to preserve it. So, it wasn't just the Institute, but I felt that we in particular, because we had such a connection with the outside world and our customers and partners, that we had the chance to tell it. We had a chance to tell the story. Matter of fact, someone who just recently retired, his name was David Careau, and he really took it to heart. He loved the history. And I think he could come up with not just the date of when the institute opened. He could probably give you the hour and the minute. I mean, it was such a joy to him. And we even opened up a small museum at Nila Park, so we could really capture and preserve some more of the history for people who weren't necessarily coming to the institute, but wanted to take a look at an architectural gem, but really a very historic part of General Electric and certainly of the lighting industry.
Nila Park is a legitimate American cultural heritage site. Legitimate.
That's that's true. Hmm.
Just like Henry
True.
Ford's factory, the original one, I can't
Yeah.
remember the name, by the river there. These are places that Americans that seek to understand the culture should go to view, and it should be a museum. It absolutely should be a museum. And whether GE pays for that or the lighting industry pays for that, it's an American cultural heritage site and should be preserved absolutely.
First
Um,
industrial park in the United States.
yeah, I mean it's more than lighting. It's deeper than lighting. It's grounded in lighting and centered in lighting, but it's part of the how America became a country and an industrial powerhouse. And I would certainly think it should be 100% preserved. Greg, can we move on from Nila Park because both of us have a lot of sentimentality about that place? Do you have anything more you want to add before we get into some of the
I
other stuff?
Yeah, I do. What is Nila Park today? I mean, I haven't heard anything about it. Is there still any institute or
There's
museum still there? People go.
there's GE Current. A Daintree company is still there. Obviously there's been a lot of ownership changes, but the
Mm,
Consumer Lighting Products Group is still at Nila Park. So not as
okay.
many employees, certainly as when you were there, but there are
Mm.
still a substantial number of folks there.
Is there someone
And they're
guarding
still
the
doing.
legacy? Sorry, I jumped in there. Is there someone there that knows the legacy and the history of the building? You know?
Today, I don't I don't know. Like I said, David Careau, he just retired just a couple weeks ago, so he would have been a key resource. So uh, I'd be certainly, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to forward them on or try to get answers as well.
Are they still doing classes there or courses?
Um, right now at this time, I don't believe so, but I'm not the
No.
authority anymore about what exactly is going on as far as classes.
Sure. All right.
So a lot of your career has been to present people with awards. You spent a lot of time managing, the Edison Awards and then also the Tesla Awards for the NLB. How do you go about building an awards program specific to an industry? What's important, and what do you think through when you start that?
The GE Edison Awards, again, it was such a great project, and we had such great teams working on that. But that was originally instituted by a gentleman named Frank Leguyza, who worked at the Lighting Institute. But his concept, well, at the time, was really to promote excellent use of lighting. And again, think about the Edison Awards. Now people are making lamps and people are making luminaires that incorporate these lamps. So encouraging use of GE products. So clearly some commercial benefit there, but also to just reward good quality lighting. And it was at a time when the lighting specifier was just getting started. The lighting designer was a profession. It really, I guess Howard Branson is still called the father of lighting design, but so it really is also trying to promote the profession of the lighting designer. So that was really the intent, of the Edison Awards. So actually, Frank is the one. He came up with criteria. You clearly have to um, build a reputation for an awards program. So you went from having maybe 10 or 12 lighting projects and holding an event in a conference room to really some of the very high end type of awards presentations, and maybe now you've got 40 projects uh, judged by some of the leaders of the lighting design community and having them in a prestigious ballroom in New York City or Las Vegas. So, that's a type of evolution that we saw with the Edison Awards. So, the Tesla Award, the Edison Awards were discontinued. First, again, the lighting business changed, and so when I became more active with with the National Lighting Bureau, and Randy Reed, who is just a great person to work with, I suggested, do we want to sponsor some sort of a lighting design program that really features high quality lighting? They're all high quality lighting, but let's try to, really take the criteria and tune them more into the initiatives promoted by the National Lighting Bureau. So that's what we did. So we've gone through 2 years of that. It's been great fun. COVID kind of we had a little bigger plans, but COVID kind of put a stop to some of the awards ceremony that we had hoped to conduct. But we're looking forward to another great competition next year.
And how many participants do you usually have in these, or does it vary per year?
Well, we've only done yeah. Well, I mean, the Edison Awards certainly. Usually, you'd have at least in the 30 range, sometimes 40
Sure.
or 40, 45, but that's kind of the limit. For the Tesla Awards, we've been able to get approximately 30 entries, but some of the top
Oh,
firms. So we've been very fortunate. So hopefully next year we'll have even more.
so you picked the name Tesla to compete
That
with
was
Edison?
Randy. That was
Okay.
Randy. And I teased
Yep.
him because he has the logo for the Tesla Awards and it kind of has lightning bolts coming out of it. I said, do we really need that in there? He goes, yeah, we do. Okay.
The Edison
Randy's a good.
Report has the Tesla Awards. Love it.
Yeah, you know, everyone knows that Edison was a businessman and not an inventor. Like if you really read into his biography, he was more of a manager of a group of scientists than he was the actual scientist himself. And so, some of the patents went in his name. But Tesla, it's interesting. Those two characters are, they're kind of like, Batman and the Joker or whatever in history, like
Mhm.
real life adversaries that
Oh
hated
yeah,
each
yeah.
other's guts in real
Right,
life
right,
and
right.
wanted to destroy
Tesla was
one
in it.
another. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. And it's also interesting because people ask, was Thomas Edison ever at Nila Park? And I don't think he ever was.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, by the time General Electric became General Electric, he just really, he was so upset he just kind of separated himself from the General Electric Corporation. So, and it's interesting you mentioned he surrounded himself with talented people, which is really not a bad key to success, right? You just surround
Mm.
yourself with the very best people. But when you think of ideas that shook the lighting industry, the whole idea of think tanks, groups of people that can help
Mm-hmm.
invent and create and really push technology forward was really, something that he brought to business. So, yeah, an interesting history. There have been some great books written about him.
There's a real parallel between Barnum the circus guy and a Thomas Edison. They're actually very similar characters. If you go read the biographies of P.T. Barnum or Thomas Edison, it's very similar. But I'll tell you a story. I think I saw the ghost of Thomas Edison in Nila Park, so I think he's there. He's there. He's haunting the place. He's cursing the place. I don't know what he's doing, but I think I saw his ghost in the bathroom. Um, tell me a little bit about what the NLB is trying to accomplish, or what is it trying to, where is it going, and how is your role on the board actively serving that?
It's been Randy has been such a great executive director. It's so much fun working with a person who's who's a glass half full type of guy, and I think he's brought, a new energy to the organization. But, you think about promoting high value lighting, promoting high value business. You think of some of the key initiatives, well, things like the art and science of lighting product awards. Lighting products that really make a difference, that really set a high bar for aesthetics or for performance. Looking at trusted warranty program. trying to really provide confidence in people who specify and use LED lighting products where, claims of 400,000 hours life, I'm exaggerating, can you substantiate that? What type of warranty claims does a business really stand behind? So you think of initiatives that really promote the success of good lighting, whether from a business standpoint, from a aesthetic standpoint, from a lighting application standpoint. And even creating programs where we can get NLB partners to help uh, donate products for key projects. So I think trying to become a role model, providing case studies, and all in all, just trying to really promote and tout the benefits of good lighting and good lighting business.
In your consulting practice, is there what arrows do you have in your quiver there? Like, if somebody comes to you and says, "Mary Beth, I have this problem," and then you're like, "Well, actually, I can help you with that." Where are your strengths in the consulting business right now?
Yeah, calling my consulting a business is overstepping it a bit. I retired in 2016. My husband passed away in 2018, so now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. Okay, so I have been dabbling in lighting consulting. I love doing webinars. I love teaching. I COVID has kind of put a bit. I've allowed it to put a crimp in some of the things I'd like to do, but certainly lighting education is something I love, and I like talking to people at all different levels. Um, so I have done some webinars and workshops. I'm currently on the staff of a brand new organization called the Lighting Agora. I don't know if you're familiar with Tom Butters,
We've
who
had
was
Tom on
the
a couple
director.
weeks ago. Yeah, we had
Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great, great. So, I joined his team, which I'm, very excited about. I can't get rid of lighting. I mean, it's in the brains here. So, and it's really good for me, and I was doing something that I enjoy. So, between the National Lighting Bureau and the Lighting Agora, and doing some, independent teaching. I've had some other folks, especially I've had some an owner of a distributor in Toledo, Lori Gross Electric. I've done some workshops with her. In fact, I owe her a call. So, I'm willing to talk to some of her customers. She's great with the show and tell. I can do the accredited part of the presentation. So we can kind of team up and hopefully generate some business for her. So, that's kind of what I'm doing. So we'll see. Ask me in another year.
I will.
What do you speaking of in another year? What do you see as the future of lighting? You've gone through a lot of transitions, changes. LED was, obviously the biggest one.
Mhm.
Where are we headed? If you had to predict, what's good, what's bad, what's coming up?
Oh, you think what's the next new technology? I mean, are we going to light with
Maybe.
lasers or? I think LEDs can have quite a long runway here. It'll be interesting to
Hmm.
see. I mean, we've all gone through some growing pains with LEDs, some clever solutions, some hard to maintain solutions. I think you touched on it a little bit earlier in the podcast, but I, it, and this is me. I don't know if there's. I think that the whole retrofit business for LEDs is something that can be perhaps addressed. We talk about luminaires last 10 years, 20 years. We've got these LED chips that have a certain predicted lifetime, I'll say, but clearly there's other materials and components that can wear out. Uh, so I don't know. I think there's an opportunity for more retrofit opportunities for existing luminaires. We'll just say that. I think that more impact of the quality of light for circadian rhythms. I mean, we've talked a lot about it, but is how widely implemented is that? I mean, I've such great respect for the folks at the LHRC, led by Mariana Figueroa and Dr. Mark Ray, and so more light and health considerations, more emphasis on quality of light at night. We still there's still a lot of bad lighting out there,
Hmm.
and trying to really provide the right amount of light when you need it for the people who are in the spaces and for the application, I think has a long way to go. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. So
Um,
Greg and I created the Starving for Darkness podcast,
uh-huh.
which is actually a monster of downloads and listens. And the lighting industry has fallen into Jevon's paradox, which is kind of like the cheaper something gets, the more you use. Instead of the cheaper something gets, you keep it where it was. And so we've kind of found ourselves in a position where we've increased light pollution by a magnitude. Like it's way worse today than it ever has been. And so I think the lighting industry has a fiduciary responsibility to pull its head out of the sand and just acknowledge it and start fixing it. And the reason why I advocate for this so much, Mary Beth, and I'd love to have your thoughts on it, is that everyone's going to get rich. Like, I don't understand why the lighting industry has turned away from this issue so many times and so many times turned away from it, when really you're basically saying almost every light fixture outside has to be changed to conform to the 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting as set out by the IES. I mean, why does the industry keep turning away from this issue?
You're saying they turned away from the issue, or maybe
They don't
they
want to address it. They don't want to
economically.
admit it. You talk to a distributor or manufacturer. You talk to someone at the DLC is now starting to come around to with their Luna
Mhm,
program, but for years they were the purveyors of light pollution. Period.
mhm,
Like I love Tina, and I think they do a great job down at the DLC. And we didn't know what we were doing at the time, but they were really purveying light pollution like crazy, as wide as you could get, as uniform as possible, as white as possible, and as much as possible. That was kind of the guiding of the lighting industry, and it
mhm,
turns out that that's very very problematic. And so and even now we try to attract people to get into the universe of it, and lighting people don't want to talk about dark sky, darkness restoration, preservation. They shy away from it, and leading manufacturers don't want to discuss it. And I don't understand why, because to me it's the single biggest business opportunity in front of us as an
mhm,
industry. And if we don't do this, we're going to get regulated. The government's going to come in and tell us to do it, which would be the worst thing ever, because you know how that goes.
mhm,
So
mhm.
why is it that you've been in the lighting industry a long time. Why, if you have any thoughts, why do we keep pretending this issue is not real?
Well, I mean, again, I don't know if I'm the authority on
It's a
why
podcast.
some of the actions. Yeah, but part of it's got to be economics. I mean, you think of global warming, and why aren't we doing more with global warming? And you look at the whole. I mean, if you own a business and you've got this whole selection of luminaires with all different types of light distribution, to all of a sudden retool and redesign everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
baby.
I'm sure there's an economic impact to that.
It's interesting about the global warming issue. Okay, so people, why we don't do anything about global warming? Because nobody knows what to do. That's the reason why. If they actually knew what to do, well, here's what you could do. You could make nuclear power plants everywhere. That would solve your problem, because clean electricity is what you need. There's no carbon emissions from nuclear. Build dams wherever you can, and get rid of coal and natural gas electricity generation. But nuclear power plants are very expensive, and people don't want to build them. So they do stupid things like think, hey, we could power the United States with solar panels or wind. No, the energy density is so huge, you need to put solar panels all over Texas and Arkansas. And wind, you know what I mean? It would be crazy. The density of it is not correct. When it comes to the dark sky issue, we have all the technology, all the knowledge, everything we need to solve the problem. We know everything. We got the lighting controls, we got the tunability, we got the dimmability, we know what the cutoffing, the shielding. The industry has everything it needs except the commitment. The industry should commit to this issue and solve it for itself, and not have other outsiders come in and say, you disgusting lighting people have wrecked the earth with your bad lights, and now we're going to regulate you guys and tell you what to do. That would be a disaster for us, Mary Beth.
But municipalities, let's say, install roadway lighting, or I mean, they have the opportunity to adopt the model lighting ordinance. So I mean, it's kind of I mean, in other words, the demand can drive the opportunity. I mean, the
No, their
options
lighting
too. I mean,
partners are not helping with enforcement. And the nail distributors, we had a committee that came up with the 6 strategies to match the 5 principles. And they are, let's see if I can pull them out of my head here: uh, alignment, industry alignment, advocacy, enforcement, certification, training, certification, and incentives. And we don't have any of those things from the lighting industry perspective, except what the IDA is doing, the International Dark Sky Association, but they're not in the lighting industry, and what Nailed is doing with the Starving for Darkness podcast. Everybody else is kind of ignoring the issue. And I don't know, my reason why I kind of pull whatever hair out I have left with this issue is it's such an enormous opportunity for us. It's so good for business. It's unbelievable, actually. It's the greatest single thing the lighting industry could do right now is make every outdoor fixture in the world back in the mix. Like, why would you not do that?
What, based on the other people you've asked, what are their answers to that?
Well, first of all, most lighting people do not want to come on the show that have the authority to speak to this and could make the change. Do not want to come on the Starving for Darkness podcast or the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast and talk about it. Okay, that's the kind of the problem there. But the reason why I'm trying to convince them, and Jim Benny has helped me with this a lot, and talking to me about it, and so kind of reassuring me, this is good for business. It's not bad for business. And so that's where I don't understand the reticence to embrace the issue. To just say, hey guys, why are we pretending this isn't real? And it's solvable. Unlike climate change, this is a solvable environmental problem, and it is a real environmental problem. And light pollution is pollution. But here, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not preaching to the choir, but I'm kind of going on long about it. But I just don't understand why, as an industry, we're not just running forward towards this as fast as we can. And obviously, you've been in the game so long, maybe you could tell me why.
Yeah, no, I can't tell you why. because clearly anyone who's experienced, a really high quality outdoor lighting night environment. I mean, there's no argument. Even if whether you're involved with dark skies or not, it's just so visually more comfortable. I mean, I guess we're creatures of demanding economic benefit to things. So maybe, I don't know. Obviously, there's not. Yeah. But you're right. It's clearly something that could be easily achieved for sure.
I love that. It's exactly what I agree with. It's so easily to be done, folks. Any thoughts, Mary Beth, for the listeners before we go, and we'll ask to talk to you next time. What do you got to say?
I just wanted, the lighting industry has been such a great industry to work in. And I think that the future of lighting is just amazing. We can integrate lighting into more applications effectively than ever before. And, the efficiency of LEDs don't make it energy prohibitive. We can, whether it's decorative lighting, whether it's lighting for circadian rhythm, whether it's lighting for safety and security. I mean, we have a chance to put lighting where we need it in the most aesthetically pleasing ways. And I think we've just hit tip of the iceberg. People are still reverting back to older models of how we distribute and use light in spaces. We're still very tied into downlights and troffer configurations. But, as you start looking at some of the other lighting layers, again, the opportunity to really provide lighting for all of the benefits we've talked about is going to be achievable and easily controllable, which makes it even more exciting.
Amen. A true legend, Greg Eric. Mary Beth Gotti, thank you for being a guest. But Greg, before we go, we got to get gangster with this thing. OG, the original gangster, satco.com. Go to satco.com, Greg Eric. Go there now.
Is that why you're wearing that hat? It must be. Track lighting. They have track heads, they have track kits, track parts, halogen, incandescent, LED, every color, shape, size you need. So if you need track lighting, check out Satco.
I love track lighting, man. And you know what? Most distributors don't understand. Track lighting's super profitable, bro. You go out, you can usually double cost that minimum, especially the little components. You can triple, quadruple that little eye connector, sell it for $15. It only costs you $3 or $4. You can sell it for a lot of money. People don't know. Not to say that people don't know and you should sell it for more, but hey, you got to make a buck, right? That's what it's all about. And Satco supports distribution. They support electrical and lighting distribution 100%, and they got everything. And they got tons of track lighting, amazing track lights. Go to satco.com. They do the light thing. They do the right thing. And of course, proud members, Greg, of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. And if you want to learn about track, the VP of marketing for Satco, Brian Brandis, did a whole module in Ellis Evolve, Greg, on track lighting and why it's important, how to sell it. And so if you're a Nailed member, you can log on to LS Evolve and take that track lighting course right now, folks. So I'm telling you, if you're a distributor and you're not selling track lighting, you're missing a huge category. So go to satco.com, Greg, and the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. And I know that at the end here, you folks that make it to the end, we love you guys. You know that. All you folks out there. I know we speak on behalf of Greg Eric and Mary Beth Gotti and the board of directors of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors and everyone else saying thanks for listening. Bye for now.